All right. Hopefully you are able to see me. Welcome to the stream. Let's see, I'm just gonna grab the page here so that I can just see. Oh, no, I don't want ads. Ads on my own video. All right. Um, Hi there. Hi there, guys. All right. Yeah, I'm back, I guess. That's where I should start maybe, because it's been a while. I haven't uploaded in a month, and before that I used to upload every week. But yeah, just needed a break, I guess, to see what I exactly want to do with this channel. And I'm happy to see you guys here. So, let's just start. Are there any questions or any subjects you guys want to just chat about? And then, yeah. Though there are not a lot of people here watching. Sad. I guess it's been a while too long for some people. Depending on how successful the stream is, longer or shorter. But now it's kind of quiet. I just had my let's see, cosmology midterm yesterday. Yes, it's Thursday, right? Yes, yesterday. So that went well. It was quite fun, the cosmology, because it's a midterm, so I still have a final exam. But it's like about the expansion of the universe and how you, depending on a few variables that we can hopefully measure, how you can predict how the universe behaves, like if it should keep expanding or eventually collapse and stuff like that. So that's quite fun. So yeah. And if space were positively curved, then it would apparently, the universe would apparently collapse over time. And what it means for space to be curved positively, it's kind of weird. Imagine being on a, well, sphere, but in 4 dimensions, I guess. I don't know. Anyone, does anyone have questions that they would like to have answered? I have my books ready. I have my, let's see, fundamental planetary science, and I got Bob, meaning big orange book. That's this one, modern astrophysics, and I got a few other books. So yeah, I got it all ready. Just throw it at me. And yeah, okay, there are more people now joining, so that's nice. So I'm gonna repeat the question. Hold up, I can do a Q&A. Engage, start a Q&A. What? How does this work? Actually, Q&A. Like, do I ask a question and do you guys answer? I assume so. What kind of questions do you have? Start Q&A. Is that how it works? I don't know how this works. You guys tell me what happens. What's your first science book? You mean the first one I showed? The Fundamental Planetary Science? Or do you mean like my first ever science book at university? If that's the case, then it's my classical mechanics one, I think. If I can find it. Yeah. Oh boy. Here. Analytical mechanics files in Cassaday. So this one. But this is a international student edition. I have to be more like this, I think. But that's the first one. It says not for sale in the United States, very specifically here. So I hope you don't live in the United States. But it does have a different version, apparently, for the United States. I don't know why. It seems kind of weird to me. So yeah. Oh well. Yes. Where do we want to? Yeah, guys, I need some input on because I'm here to answer questions, also partially, also to just talk with you guys and yeah, catch up a bit because I haven't done much in the last month. Okay, well, are you studying yourself or, now, Russo, or are you just or planning on studying, or just um, interest, or is physics or interest on the side? That's because I myself, of course, well, obviously, I guess I'm studying it, but some people just like with Brilliant, the website, you can follow those courses. Those courses on Brilliant are quite nice for like very intuitive, getting an intuitive grasp of physics and math and so, things like that. So if I were ever to get a sponsor, I want it to be Brilliant, and I've stated this before in the past in the stream. I want Brilliant to reach out to me. So Brilliant, if you're watching, I want a sponsor. I want you as a sponsor because you're the perfect. I think it fits the channel perfectly. So who wants spoilers for the new video that is coming tomorrow? I don't know. I could do sponsor. I'm gonna. It means I'm just gonna draw Gerdama. Yup, this beautiful Gerdama. Blah 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 blah. It's very nicely brown. Oh no, I can just fill it, and then it has, yeah, some oceans, very beautiful. Yep. Space potato with water. How is space? Well, I think it's just has always been my thing, space. That's hard to say. Like, well, my grandpa also had multiple telescopes and such, and yeah, and cameras and stuff. Everything with lenses basically was his thing. I don't know. Ever since I can remember, it's always been something I've been interested in, and yeah, it never went away, so it's never gonna stop. How about you guys? Like, what made you love space? In the meantime, just gonna look at the Q&A thing. How many sneezes would it take to escape Gilly? Depends on the force of your sneezes. Yeah. I'm just gonna finish this beautiful space potato right now. And we can give it a ring. Whoa. Beautiful, beautiful. Zigardama, absolutely majestic, with Donk right here in the ring. I started to love space with KSP. All right, and how long have you been playing it? Because I'm curious to like what version of KSP and like how long that's been. Hey, so glad you're back. How you doing? Thank you, Silly Rainer. Doing quite good actually. The when I went away for a bit, I just went a weekend or a week just to another city, just having some fun, just relaxing for a bit. And now I'm doing cosmology as a subject, and that's been a lot of fun. Like how the universe expands and contracts, and like depending on variables and such. So that's been a lot of fun. So yeah, I've been quite good. I hope you guys are doing well. Well, I hope you guys are doing well as well. um, it's been a couple of years on the PlayStation, so KSP1. Okay, all right. Yeah, I've never played it on console. I imagine that playing KSP on console is quite difficult. Like, yeah, like the controls might be not as forgiving as they are on the PC. Look at a beautiful space potato. Yeah, and also like Gardama maybe looks like dress sometimes. Well, if you have looked at the pictures of Gordon, it looks quite cool. Kind of different from Dress, I guess. Dress is a very thin not moon, but ring that has no gap. It's like just a very thin ring, and compared to Gerdama, is quite its ring is quite wide, with quite a pronounced gap in it. So, I've heard of the silly beast known as. Have you heard of the silly beast known as Bingus? Bingus, never heard of it. Please tell me what Bingus is, or maybe I can look it up. Beast Bingus. No, I do not know what it is. But I would love. Some people seem to know what Bingus is, so please inform me. Psychopathic cat. Huh. All right. Just a just a random psychopathic cat. Aren't all cats psychopaths? Like, oh, they are at least all narcissists. Cats are assholes, but I love cats better than I do. Um, what's it? Dogs. I'm very sorry. I'm saying this as, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Where do you get all the info on KSP2 celestial bodies for your community posts? In the dev videos they've made in the since the game was announced in 2019, they've made some like a dozen dev videos where they show footage like alpha and beta footage of planets and like the whole process, and yeah, you can find actual footage of those planets in those videos. So if you just look up KSP2 dev videos, then you will find a whole playlist. They will have Gerdama and Puff and all the things that I've showed up until now. So you can find everything. It's a meme around the pink cat. It's really cute. I'll look it up. I'll inform myself. Hi Cindy. Hi. Also Dutch, I see. So, Mr. Zig, I hope this answers the question. So, if you haven't watched those videos yet, you have some cool things to catch up on. There's also like a smaller celestial body called Scud. It's called. I think it's a very small asteroid that's asymmetric and like kind of a blob, which it will make depending on how it turns. Actually, well, no, well. It will make it very interesting to land on. Like if you have like, the object looks like kind of like an egg shape. So if it turns around like this, like you can imagine if you're trying to land like a rocket is like this, just gonna if you're landing like this, oh hold up, then yeah, then this end will like. Because it's like not always the same. The weird altitude difference will because of the weird shape will like maybe hit you if it turns fast enough. So it will be kind of strange. Not KSP2 KSP related, but I'm making a star system creator game. All right. What should be something would be fun to customize in considering space studios? Thank you, Param. I mean the temperature of the star, like. If it's like a red dwarf, a yellow star, or a blue star, or a hyper giant, or any or like a red giant, like yeah, the types of stars I would imagine, yeah, something interesting because like every star you see in the night sky has on average like one star, one planet orbiting around it on average. And so you can imagine that on those planets, like the views for each of one of them are going to be very different. So yeah, I have not even thought about the temperature of stars. Well, there you go. I would love to see the result once you're finished with that one. 3+ body patch conics. Yeah, I'm curious to how they are going to do that with the Rask and Rusk stuff, like the whole 3 body problem, because that's the thing is someone you I don't know who is familiar with like the how physics the engine in KSP2 or KSP1 works, and like what the problem of Rask and Rusk, what it actually represents. Rask, oh this Rask, Rusk, because the KSP1 game is something called like a two-body problem. It assumes that every body only is noticing the gravitational influence of one other body, the one that it is orbiting. So Kerbin pretends that the only object pulling on it is Kerbal because it's orbiting Kerbal. The Mun only assumes that the only object pulling on it is Kerbin because it's orbiting Kerbin. That is because like otherwise it would be very difficult to simulate a system with all those bodies constantly pulling on each other. So it's way easier to simulate if you assume a two-body problem. So yeah, problem with Rask and Rusk is that you will have those two planets acting on each other while you, as in your rocket, come along as the third body. So how will this work? Because normally you should be able to fly in a figure eight, but the problem is that the physics engine assumes that the center of mass is pulling on whatever is trying to orbit it, and in the case of Rask and Rusk, the center of mass is in a place whereas that is actually kind of repelling you. So we'll see what they'll how they'll fix it, and it's like I think there will be just a way of cheating it. Like it's still technically two-body problem, but they kind of, I'm very excited to how that's gonna work. What is cosmic radiation? I assume you mean cosmic microwave background radiation. I assume that you mean that. It's kind of the leftover radiation from the early universe. I just had this. But like in the early universe, like matter and radiation were like very bunched up together and like interacting with each other. And as the universe expanded very quickly, some of that radiation got kind of finally got the chance to move freely, and they never interacted with anything else anymore and just kept on going, and that's just uniformly in every direction kind of, and that's the leftover cosmic microwave background radiation, if I'm correct. Anyone who would like to correct me on that part, then please do, because funnily enough, cosmology is not my expertise. I'm more of a like exoplanets guy. So, where did you get all the info about the new planets in KSP? Dev videos, the developer videos. They give us quite a lot of information on the planets and some cool footage. So if you look up KSP2 developer videos, then you can find it. Would the escape velocity on Rask and Rusk be lower on the side if they face each other than on the I don't know. That kind of depends. I think I would imagine actually the because this is the center of mass, I would imagine that it's actually easier to take off from here because you are farther away from the center of mass. So you would need less energy to escape from there. That's what I assume. I don't know how. I've not. Spacecraft dynamics is also not like my expertise. So, but I assume that because you're farther away from the center of mass, that would make it easier, maybe a little bit. So, okay, maybe take a look at some KSP1 mods like Kerbal. It was surely yeah, maybe I should. Kerbal is a cool mod, so maybe I should look into that more. You think the Earth is round, flat, or cube shape? I think that the Earth is a oblate spheroid, and for the people that are like very much nerds will know like the whole oblate spheroid thing. You think that moons could have moons? Well, technically, if there's a way for the orbit to be stable, like if like unless the first moon is not too close to the planet, so that because if the moon is too close to the planet for then and it has a moon, then it can like well I can just draw it maybe. Beautiful. Oh no, okay. I'm just gonna remove. Hold on. Can I remove this? Yes. Yeah. Okay. So if you have a planet and you have the moon, like if this distance is great enough, then another moon could just float around happily around it. But if it gets too close, then it might be captured by the other body and fly around that, or even crash into it, maybe. So it all depends on like, is this moon far away enough, and is this moon not too big enough? Or if this is far away enough, then you can have like almost like even sized moons, such. But then it might become a very chaotic system. So depends on like the what you call them, initial conditions, like what's the distance, what are the distances, what are the masses of all the objects that but you can probably simulate in like what's called universe sandbox or a space engine, I don't know. What do you think of the 500 flat earthers via 500? Huh? I didn't know that. I knew that the whole Earth like shaped like dinosaur was a meme. I wasn't aware of the Fiat 500 thing, though I do not mind, because Fiat 500 is a fine car. Don't they have an electric one as well? I'm not sure. I'm gonna look at the whole Q&A thing. Does MOA have the same orbital quirks as Mercury? Depends on what you mean by orbital quirks. So you mean like how it's misshapen, like the eccentricity and the tilt and everything, or do you mean like the precession because of relativity? Because if you mean that, sorry. If you mean that the whole precession thing, then no, because KSP doesn't simulate relativity. I have a long one for gravity. If you have a satellite above the equator of the Earth and set distance above the surface, it could be geostationary satellite. Yes, it could be as sick as possible ASAP. I'm curious to what the rest of your question is gonna be. I wonder what the data is for Deb. What do you mean, Malachi? Like what kind of star it would be? Just like, are you curious about like just any information on the system? Because I haven't seen a lot of signs of what kind of star it could be. If there's anyone who knows where to find that information exactly, I did see on the Instagram page of Kerbal Space Program, if you look up on the hashtag KSP2 show and tell, there is a little video on like atmospheric effects and such, and clouds, a little short video on that. And what you could see is that a star, it looked like it was on Gerdama, but the star looked kind of yellowish orange. So it looked like a colder star. Deb. If I'm correct that it is actually Deb. So based on that video, I would assume that Deb is colder than Kerbal, colder and smaller, but I'm not sure. Its orbital period is 1 day and would always directly. While using gravity, it would probably be possible to do this for other planets and moons. Yes, ASAP. I mean, every object that is rotating around on its axis has a point where a altitude where it that an orbit should rotate with it. So yes, for the moon, I think that because it's a month, because it's tidally locked around at well, the moon is tidally locked with Earth, so it moves around its axis in like over the entire orbit, and that makes it like that the not geostationary, but like the moon's stationary orbit is like tens of thousands of kilometers high, and thus quite unpractical, because I think you just might get influenced by the Earth's gravity too much if you get that. But in some cases, will the calculated distance be outside of object's sphere of influence, and thus have no way of making geostationary? Well, the thing is, like, a sphere of influence is kind of more a thing in like Kerbal Space Program thing, because it's a patched conics thing, because essentially gravity acts over the infinite distance. It just becomes weaker and weaker. So technically there's in real life there is no clear sphere of influence where, well, it's not like very nicely shapen, the sphere of influence of things. So I think for most cases, if the object rotates too slow, then you might get an altitude that's so high that it gets it's on the cusp of getting pulled too much by another object that is like also fighting in that region. Hey man, could you tell me what 1 + 1 is? I need to know that. Could it be a gas planet where it's shaped like a potato? Well, technically, yes, if it's spinning so fast that it's like its centrifugal force is like acting on it. Like, oh, that's not my. The whole like Jupiter is not spherical, because this is a sphere, and Jupiter and Saturn. Oh, I want it to be red. Jupiter. If you draw a circle on images of Jupiter, you will see that will look kind of like this, and that's because due to the fact that Jupiter will be rotating on its axis like this, and due to that, if you look on top view, if we do a top view, well, this top view, oh no, crap, axis is like this, then you will get a force acting like to the outside, and so like on the equator, like matter will be pushed out, so it will get kind of flattened. So yes, if the object spins fast enough, then it will be pushed out enough, so it will be like a potato, I guess, or like kind of like a sideways egg. You can have Juno synchronous orbit on Duna, I think, probably because you will get in orbit of Ike, maybe. Maybe I can make a video or like a short on like the possibility of Duna synchronous orbit. Vovcat, thank you. Could Jupiter have life? I don't think Jupiter like itself, because it's a gaseous planet and it's quite hostile. But it wouldn't surprise me if the moons of Jupiter, like Europa specifically, has life. It wouldn't surprise me at all if it has life under the ice sheets, like, because it's like Europa likely has like liquid water oceans beneath beneath the ice, and it Europa is like quite safe. Like if life were to try and form there, like it had billions of years under the ice, untouched, just all the time in the world to form. And thus it wouldn't surprise me if there's life under the ice sheets of Europa. So I'm really excited for the JUICE and the Clipper missions. JUICE already launched. Clipper is going to launch end of next year, I think. And those are both going to inspect the Europa. So I'm really looking forward to that. Saturn is pretty stretched from its rings, I think. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Even more squashed. Yeah, gas giants they spin fast. Jupiter has like an orbital period of like 11 hours, I think. So it's very fast, especially for like how big it is. Doesn't the typical force similarly affect Earth's shape? Is there another reason for its non-circle shape? I mean, yeah, the Earth also has is kind of squished, but not to the extent of like the gas giants, because gases are much more malleable than like rocky planets. The Earth is quite like sturdy, so will not be as easy to you know change shape. So the Earth is also kind of like flattened because of the whole the spinning, but not as much as the gas giants because they are more like squishy. Wait, do gas giants have cores like iron or any other cores? Well, that depends kind of how they form. That really depends on like the formation of like if there were any metals around when the planet formed. If there weren't and only the gases, then it would be fully gas giants. So I think it is all there. I think in the universe there will be gas giants that have a core and some that might not have one, or like a very small one, because there's always going to be some metals around, I think. And but it might be the case that the cores are very small sometimes because there were maybe just less material around for it to form. But yeah, I think it's all depends on like the conditions of like when the whole system formed. Is there a second source of life in the solar system? Then the universe would be like. I don't know my. Oh, like that you mean? Yeah. If Europa actually has life as well, then indeed that would be a quite strong evidence of like life being absolutely everywhere in the universe, because if it has two separate celestial bodies in one star system develop life independently, then it's gotta be everywhere, absolutely everywhere. So yeah, that would be very cool. Solar planets still have like a viscous liquids that when hit hard enough. Yeah, there's an animation from NASA. If you look like Earth Moon formation animation, then you will see like two bodies like on large timescales like moving around and such. It looks very cool. Space Peacock, thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to be back. I needed the little break, but it's good to be back. So could gas giants have two cores like one chunky boy and another? I don't think, because like it would have two separate cores, because the pressure is so high within planets that it will just crush it into one thing. So I don't think like there will be two separate cores for a planet like that. How does gas giants catch moon? Um, yeah, well, it's kind of weird. You have to look at simulations for if you want to see it happen, kind of. It's just a lot of gravitational interactions between multiple bodies that are pulling each other in and swinging them each other around for them to eventually like find a stable orbit. So it's all kinds of bodies like interacting with each other. It's not like just one thing pulling on the other. Like if some object arrives, then other moons that were already there or like also swinging by will then pull on it and just eventually things will just stabilize. So, Philip Sykes, thank you. I have to think of a question now. Well, feel free to ask them. I'll be here for like at least another half an hour, so take your time. Hello, Gajuz. I think most gas giants, gas giant moons have formed out of the same disk of planets. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, could be. I mean, just violent formation, just like a bunch of like material getting together. Maybe get some other influence just rips it apart. Then a few of those little lobes of the bigger mass that was getting formed will then eventually become the moons, stuff like that. What would have more impact as fast, small, sort of big chunky asteroid, and why? Well, we like the impact of a crater depends on the kinetic energy of the thing that makes the impact, and kinetic energy can be defined as 1/2 times the mass times the velocity squared. So if you double the mass, then you double the kinetic energy. If you double the velocity, you quadruple the kinetic energy. So a small speedy asteroid will have much more impact than a slow big one. So I hope that answers your question. That one space guy. So yeah, have an asteroid of like mass 1 and another one of mass 2 and one well no I'm not, no never mind. Never just yeah, well kinetic energy scales like is exponentially for velocity and not for what are the requirements for an object to be a dwarf planet and not an asteroid? I think mostly the fact that it is big, a dwarf planet is big enough to make itself like round, like Pluto, Ceres, Eris, and all those dwarf planets are quite round. So I think that's pretty much it. There is a point where it becomes quite weird shapen. So yeah, I think that's because for dwarf planets they do not clear their own orbits, neither do asteroids, so they're the same in that respect. Yeah, so I think that's mainly it. Just wondering if you're planning on making a Discord server. I had one, but I deleted it. And you might be like, why would you delete a Discord? Thing is, I noticed that the more things I have on my mind, yeah, that doesn't fit me. Like I want to have the least amount of things on my mind, like that could distract me or not distract me. This doesn't mean like I don't appreciate you guys. Because I like the Discord. It's just that I need less information or like less things that I have to keep tabs on. So just for my own sake, I don't have a Discord anymore. So sorry about that, guys. But maybe in the future if this channel becomes really big. But who knows? Just gonna drink. Hold up. The microphone is on the bottle cap. So if you're wondering, Papa, could it be planets which aren't in a solar system have to like have core which heats it? Could be, but for extent, like Kurzgesagt made a video on this one. If you look up Kurzgesagt rogue planets, then which are planets that escape their star system, if they have a core that is warm enough, then it might be able to. I don't know. I don't remember what the conclusion was of that video, but you can look it up. Kurzgesagt made a video. Are Saturn's ring holding some amount of tenuous gas pressure around to? I'm not sure what you mean, because the rings of Saturn are mostly rocky and icy, not gaseous per se, and because it's so cold out there, it's just straight up ice. Yeah, so the rings are made out of solid, very tiny solid particles. So yeah, just gonna look at the Q&A questions thing. How can I switch to the Q&A? Up. How would you calculate the greenhouse effect? Oliver, yes, I had a thing, and I cannot find it anymore. So, I will look it up if I can find it, Oliver. But there is like, when we were trying to, we used that thermal equilibrium thing, what I showed you when you in the Discord thing. But then we did like made a model where we have like multiple layers of atmosphere that on their own were each like trapping heat, like light came in, and like was bouncing, and like how long would it take for it to get out again. So like the reason how you can calculate the effects of greenhouse gases is like the way that CO2 traps heat, and you can do that by, because the density of the atmosphere is not like uniform, so it's like a gradient. And so if you make a very simple model where like you make layers of like each having a uniform density but like decreasing slabs of density atmospheres, then you can for each of those layers calculate the effects of like how light would try and escape with certain amounts of CO2. So that is basically it, I think. Would it be possible for Europa-like planet with underwater life orbiting black hole in orbit that's low enough? I mean, black holes are actually, if you get close enough to them, are actually quite hot, because the whole debris, the accretion disks, the debris flying around the black hole is due to friction, because it's all like being like dragged along, makes it around the black hole, I think, quite hot. So if you get the right distance, it maybe should be possible for that whole black hole thing with Europa. Ivan, right? Is it Ivan? I learned Cyrillic, the Cyrillic alphabet a while back, because someone, someone I know is not Russian or Bulgarian. So, how can Super Saturn have rings so big? Yeah, I haven't looked. I'm not familiar with that name, but I assume that's the one with the rings that are absolutely enormous. I think, yeah, I'm not sure about it, but I assume it's just a lot of small debris that was there, and it just captured it. Because I assume that the Roche limit wasn't that far out, because things wouldn't get ripped apart if it's so far out. So that is not the case. So something else must have made it so that there was a lot of small debris that allowed the planet to capture it. So that is what I would think about. Could there be stars which are small and have planets like same size or as them orbiting them? I don't think a like planets that are big enough of the size of stars will turn into stars, or like stars that are small enough will turn into brown dwarfs. So I don't think there's a moment there that like planets and stars can become the same size. I don't think so, at least. I'm not aware of any possibility. Um, uh, Ivan? Ivan, I think then you mean, right? Uh, but yeah. Yeah, that the J1407 planet looks very cool. I would love to see if that. I don't know how far it is actually, that planet. How far away? Just gonna look it up because if it's it's over 400 light years, 400 light years, because they are working on some cool telescopes that might be able to make some cool images of exoplanets. And if that planet was close enough, maybe we would be able to see like the rings and such, like actually see the rings. That would be really cool, but I think it's maybe too far away for that. So yeah. And what are the blue spots on Ceres? I think it's water ice. Ceres blue blue spots. I think it's water, right? Or maybe something else. Maybe it's something completely different. I'm looking at the wiki page. Oh, that's yeah. Scientists report that the bright spots on Ceres may be related to a type of salt, particularly in the form of brine containing hydrated magnesium sulfates. I assume if you look at the whole like spectrography, well, the whole spectrum with the absorption lines, you will be able to see what kind of material it is. I haven't looked at any data like that, so maybe I should. Theoretically, would it be possible with a really tiny red dwarf as a super? Maybe, but I don't think any super Jupiter is as big as the small stars. But maybe I'm wrong. Well, what do you have here? A current orbit. Nice to have you here. Welcome. And for those who are watching this, and current orbit is someone who is starting a like kind of space news channel. So subscribe to him if you want for the latest space related stuff. So yeah, we're maybe gonna do some kind of collab in the future. So we'll see about that. Oh yeah, I can see it in the Q&A, Lunar. Just sometimes I get lost in my whole story and I forget about the Q&A. I will look at that later. Sorry. But hey, I watched a video about gas which oh, okay. Interesting. I will look it up then. I wasn't aware of that. That's weird. Huh. I guess start weird. But in KSP2, Pole is remade into an IO analog, but it seems to be too far away from Joule to have significant tidal effects. Well, I think the colors, Lunar, of IO and Pole are similar. Like maybe the materials are similar, but I don't think Pole is volcanic in any way. If I look it up, the Pole KSP2, I don't think it's volcanic, right? It does have some cratering that might look like volcanoes, but I don't think they're actually volcanoes. So that would be the difference. Like it has color scheme because it can have the same like composition, but it's not. And Pole's indeed not close enough to Joule, I assume, to have tidal heating, making it like active. So The tracking center info says it bursting with geothermal activity. Huh. Alright. Then I will try and see. Okay, well, maybe that's something cool for a future video. I will try and investigate it. And I will have to look up some stuff on like the effects of tidal heating, like in more detail, and how that actually works, because I'm not too familiar with those like intricate workings. And normally that's something you want to model. So maybe that's Luna. I will look it up and try and see if maybe I can make a video on that in the future, because that might be a very cool thing to do something about. If we had two planets that orbit each other on big distance, like almost the end of the sphere of influence, could it be possible this we need some winters? I'm not sure what you mean, Ivan. Check-ins, have we ever found an exoplanet similar to Venus in terms of atmosphere? I assume there are a lot of well, we have found like definitively like 5,000 exoplanets. I assume there are a few, because atmospheres aren't that rare for planets, so I assume there is a planet out there that is very similar. What's your opinion on Pluto being classified as a binary system? Technically, gravitational center point. Pluto is definitely not a planet. That's unless you also want to call Eris, Ceres, and a few hundred other, or a few dozen other dwarf planets. But I don't think Pluto is a dwarf planet, and I like it as being a binary dwarf planet system. But yeah, definitely not. Because I still find it very interesting how some people get very emotional about like Pluto. I don't know if you guys have seen the Corridor Crew video on Pluto, and like, yeah, people were still like, well, not mad about it, but like still would like Pluto to be a planet. And that's because some people grew up like with it being a planet, and well, I guess no. Sad to hear that you get overwhelmed by things. When I first stumbled upon your channel, I just instantly wanted to find a way to talk about it. You're amazing, but see your point. Thank you, Vobcat. Finally, someone with some sense. I don't know. I'm curious to like who. Oh, I can do a poll. Oh, I can do a poll. Start a poll. Is Pluto a planet in your eyes? Because it is not by definition, but like, oh, yes, no, boom, cool. And that they've oh, you mean like that? Well, summer and winter cycles are not really determined by our distance to the sun, because actually during the winter, Earth is closer to the sun than it is in the summer. What makes a bigger difference is like the axial tilt, because that makes it allows for a difference in like in certain points of the year, like which way is pointing in a certain way towards the sun. That like the whole difference between the southern hemisphere and another northern hemisphere, like they have switched. When it's summer here, it's winter in the southern hemisphere. No, well, when it's summer in the northern hemisphere, it's winter in the southern hemisphere. And it's due to the axial tilt. I can draw it. I should draw it. If we have Earth, oh no, that's the wrong thing. If we have Earth, and the tilt is like, oh, not like that. It's like this, and the sun is coming from here, shining this way, and the sun is actually here. Then light will be spread across a bigger surface if it arrives here than when it actually arrives here, and due to the fact that it's spread across a bigger surface, it's colder because you have the same amount of energy that has to be shared across a bigger surface. So it's not the distance to the sun that determines unless it's like a very eccentric orbit, or like the distances of those two planets are so big. But I don't think they have to be so big that the orbit doesn't become stable, so that wouldn't happen, I think. Oh boy, a lot of questions. Can you explain the planet mass J2? I'm not familiar with that one. I'm just going to type it in and have that for later. Maybe after the stream I'm going to look at it, because I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with them. Sorry about that, the one space guy. Would it be possible for life to exist on Titan? Well, that's something that a lot of people are wondering, I guess. Some scientists are looking into that specifically. Biology is not my strong suit. I think, I mean, I don't know. I feel like water is still required because it's such it makes stuff soluble quite easily, so it's like dissolves stuff very easily. I mean, from a purely technical standpoint, Pluto doesn't fulfill any of the qualifications planned. Yeah, exactly. Pluto's gonna have an honorary planet title. Yeah. That's the way I feel about it. As Curious said, people have seen that. Yeah, yeah. The definition of planet might change. If we ever get to investigate the other KBOs. I'm not familiar with what are KBOs. Oh, Kuiper belt objects. Yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that the reason it's just easier for otherwise, like the whole definition of planet becomes kind of like obsolete if almost everything becomes a planet. If it doesn't have like a bit more of a strict definition. So, thoughts on Planet X that some astronomers have been searching for the last few years. Yeah, those objects are like they did some simulations and such, and they seem to be like showing something interesting. So, if we have the sun here in the middle, and we have some orbits of some planets like this, very nicely, and like orbit of Neptune right here, and like a lot of jumbled stuff happening here around like the Earth and Mars stuff, all happening here. Just a very happy family. Then there were like some objects that were showing some kind of orbit that would seem only to be possible if like some object was like pulling it in a weird way. Like they were all like going like these all in this vague same direction, going like this way, as if some object was influencing those orbits. So I don't know, it's not definitive yet. I would love to see some more like definitive proof, of course, but it's an interesting possibility, and I would love people to boop boop. Yeah. Is there a possibility to make an orbit that's gonna make craft fly from low moon orbits to? I don't think so, Ivan. I've heard that Uranus has very strange seasons. Could you explain that, please? I mean, I'm not familiar with that case. All I know about Uranus, the most interesting fact about Uranus is that it like orbits on its side, like Earth orbits like not or rotates on it like Earth. Well, Earth has a axis like this. Uranus, much bigger, has an axis. Well, if we have the sun here, sunlight like going like sun. Uranus has like an axial tilt that's just boom like this. it it orbits just straight up like this on its side. It like basically rolls. I don't know if that has an effect on the seasons, but I assume so. I'm not. I haven't looked deeply into Uranus and its strange attributes. I shouldn't diss it for algorithm because it's going to shadow me. My cousins came into the room and I lost my headphones. Oh, oops. Sorry about that. There's a great JWST image of Uranus because of this. Yeah, Uranus is quite cool. And the picture JWST has been delivering some incredible images. I don't know if you have specifically seen the spectrum of some exoplanet recently from JWST, because that image was the data was so detailed, it was absolutely amazing. You could see so many traces of certain elements and substances. It was very cool. So if you haven't seen it yet, I would recommend looking it up because it's very cool. So yeah. There's a great let's see, are there any questions in the Q&A thing? I'm going to move to the questions. Just gonna end it for now. Oh, I cannot see the whole Q&A thing anymore if I removed it. That's stupid. Because it's alright. Okay. Oh, well, sorry guys for some people that might have posted in the Q&A thing. And I can also remove the poll, I think. End poll. What's your favorite moon in the solar system? Every planet's moon. Well, Earth, our own moon. But my favorite, it's very difficult because for Jupiter I like Europa. For Saturn I like Titan and Enceladus. Those are my three favorite moons in our solar system. Enceladus and Europa because they are the most likely to have a life. So, and Titan, a moon with an atmosphere, is just so strange. It looks so weird. It's the most distinct, the weirdest moon out there that we have, and thus fascinating. And in 2027, they are going to launch a rocket to Titan with a drone aboard, I think. It's called the Dragonfly mission. I think it has like a flying thing on board. So they are going to launch that in about 4 years. I'm looking forward to that. But then again, it's going to take at least like 5 or 6 years until it arrives at Saturn. So it's going to be like, I don't know, midway the 2030s until it's there actually. Well, I find it strange because like Titan is quite small, and thus not a lower gravity and such, and thus it's more difficult for it to hold onto an atmosphere. And like if you look at all the other moons, no other moon has like an atmosphere that comes even close to that of Titan. I think, at least. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like Titan is pretty much the only one in that regard. So that makes it quite unique. So, and thus, because it's unique, it's quite strange to see. Maybe it's very reasonable for it to have an atmosphere, but I feel like the lower gravity makes it more difficult, because otherwise, like, why does like Mars not have an atmosphere anymore. It doesn't have a magnetosphere, and thus, but like it has stronger gravity than Titan. So why wouldn't? Yeah. Well, I think they Dragonfly lost some of their funding though. Oh, really? Today I looked on the Planetary Society's website and it still had the thing. I really hope it's still going to happen, because that mission would be so cool to see happen. I'm looking forward to what Juice will reveal about Jupiter's moons. Yeah, same. And I think Juice is like from ESA, right? So Juice is the first like really interesting mission I feel like that ESA has done. Well, they have done some cool things, ESA, but like I really like ESA hasn't gone that far, I think, or at least not that often, not like NASA. So I hope that they are not going to like crash it into a moon or something, like this. The last thing that they sent to Mars crashed, I think. So hopefully that doesn't happen with Juice, because Juice is just too awesome to have it fail. So could it be a sun which has another sun orbiting it at well, yeah. The one space guy. I guess if the stars are close enough and the other planets are far enough so that they orbit that common center of mass between the two stars, then yes, they technically the whole system could be orbiting the stars. Rosetta was cool too. Yes, that was also very cool to see. It's still morning over the skip. Yeah. I don't know. Was I watching that landing live? I think I was. I think I was watching it live. It's kind of sad to see. Have we ever observed a planet in another galaxy? I think there have been some papers on this. I don't know if it was definitive. I certainly have I've seen people talk about like having some data that would point towards a planet in another galaxy. Of course, knowing what is inside our galaxy, it's pretty much a given that there are planets in other galaxies, but the fact that those stars are so far away, it will be very, 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 very difficult to observe that. It's already very difficult to like resolve a single star when it's so far away. So like having any information besides even the existence of that star, that it's gonna be difficult, I think. When I watched For All Mankind, was seen what they said was Mars. There wasn't Mars transfer window, and they used gravity assist for Venus. Would be faster. I don't know. You would have to plan it out. I have to redo some like spacecraft dynamics because that's it's been a while. I've never had a course on like spacecraft dynamics. It's like mostly classical mechanics, quantum mechanics, electrodynamics, and stuff like that. That's pretty much what I do. Very theoretical, not actually practical. What I've done so far. I don't know. It would save some delta V for sure. Yeah, I think so. Howdy, medic main Dave. How you doing? I am thinking of like finishing up right now, because I'm noticing that my throat is getting a bit dry. So that was with the last Q&A, or yeah, Q&A stream that I talked for like, what was the stream, 2 or 3 hours, and my throat was dying at the end of it, because I'm not used to it, to talking so long, so much at all. So any last questions and things before we wrap this up? Is there an object in our solar system that orbits an inclination of 9 degrees? Inclination? Like, I don't think so. Well, maybe some like Kuiper belt objects and like, or asteroids, or like some weird things like, but no major objects at least. A cool tip that I learned back in high school for a project. Apparently, the rotating set for 20. Huh. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. I remember, like, I was quite young when I watched it. It was the movie was quite slow. Very strange movie. I don't know what the whole like conclusion was about the whole movie. I haven't watched the explanation. Also with like Doctor Strangelove, that movie from Stanley Kubrick. I'm so confused with those movies by him. But yeah. Don't. Some star group thingy, and they said that the stars are old and basic, so it's possible life. I'm not sure what you mean that the one space guy. Maybe some other time I will come back to it. Um, yes, Gajus, good luck with your rocket launch, and I hope I'll hear from your mission later on. Yes, current orbit. Yeah, was yeah. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. It was nice talking to you to all, and yeah, have a nice day. And the next video is going to be uploaded tomorrow. So tomorrow evening, around well, in less than 24 hours at least. I hope so. That's my goal. So, bye bye.